Hey everyone, what's going on? My name's Christopher from Dreamtech, and welcome to another Tech Tuesday. If you're in our Skool community, Tech Mastery for Entrepreneurs, it's highly likely that you came to us through an ad. You clicked on an ad on Facebook, on Instagram, and you saw something that interested you. You came to our Skool About page and you signed up. And we're so happy you're here because our community is all about helping each other to overcome tech overwhelm, get started, and stop feeling stuck with tech. If you have a school or you're thinking about starting a school in 2026, our Skool mastery program is probably the right place to start. What I wanted to do today is talk to you about a small section of that program where we're actually talking about the insights and the things that we did with our ads, the ads that you saw, to grow our community over 400% in Q4 of 2025. So if you're interested in using ads or seeing how ads could help your community grow and find new customers and prospects and members for your community, stay tuned. That's all we're going to be talking about today. If you don't know who we are, if you're not in our group and you're watching this through a different channel, my name's Christopher. My wife Tosca and I run Dreamtech. We are both technology veterans from Fortune 500 companies and startups. And I do also want to say we don't like tech either. We like what it does and we like how it can empower our business and other people's businesses. So we try to make it as simple as possible, but we don't obsess over it. So when we left our corporate jobs, we started this business to help small businesses so that they could do what they do best and not be stuck by CRMs and Zapiers and APIs and meta ads and all of these types of things. So this is what we do, and we do it, on a paid basis for our clients, but we also have a free community, Tech Mastery for Entrepreneurs, which offers programs and one-on-one tech support and a number of other services, reviews, tech tips, you name it, where you can come to be a part of a like-minded community of women entrepreneurs who are there to learn how to use tech better, to save time, and make more money. Every week we have a Tech Tuesday. This week we're talking about what we did with our ads, and I'm just going to jump right in. First, let's talk about how we did. We actually did really, really well, and that's the reason I wanted to talk about this, because I think this will be interesting to a lot of people. Basically, these metrics here, I'm going to go from left to right. We got signups for our membership at a cost of about $3.40. And if that sounds like a lot, that's all relative, because if you imagine our programs, our paid tiers inside of our school are $9 and $49. We also have a free version, but if you want to pay for more access to more programs, it actually isn't that much to get somebody into our school. We also have, paid clients and all these other types of things. So this is a very good sign up rate for us. We got the ad out to 75,000 people, which is a great sample of women entrepreneurs and I think we're targeting United States, Canada, UK, Australia, and I'll get into all that stuff later on and how we targeted, but all over the world. And we also were excited because our community grew about 410% compared to Q3. And I think for us, that was just a really good sign that our message was resonating with people. It just wasn't getting out there fast enough organically, and that made us feel really good, because now we're in a community where we're talking to lots of people, dozens of people a day, about their tech issues, about the things that they're struggling with, and we're learning fast, and the community is thriving, and we feel really good about that. So the ads really helped kind of light a spark for our own business. So I wanted to share all this with you in case you feel like you need that spark for your school or your community as well. In addition to the meta metrics, our school metrics actually are also super powerful. We had a 32% conversion rate. So that means almost like barely under 1 in 3 people who came to our landing page said, yes, I want to sign up for your community. And that, if you don't know, is a really, really good conversion rate. We were seeing dozens, sometimes 50, 60, sometimes 100 signups at the peak per week at that rate per lead, it actually was pretty affordable for us to do that given our business model. So we felt really happy about that. But this is really kind of where you're all waiting for. So I'll stop my gabbing about how we did and talk about what we did, which is what made a difference and actually what moved the needle. What I'm not going to get into today is exactly how meta ads work, how ad campaigns and ad sets and ads and all of those things work together, how instant forms help drive conversion. All of that information is actually in our Ads Mastery program, which is a program you can take inside of Tech Mastery for Entrepreneurs. If you want to learn from me exactly how to run high performing ads that you can test and optimize over time, that's the program for you. I'm not going to get into that today. I'm going to assume that you know a little bit about how meta ads work and maybe you've run your own ads before and you're just looking for a couple of the insights of what we did that you might want to try with your own ads. The first thing that we did is we created a knowledge base. I created an AI tool called Muse that was specifically made to automate the processes that I was doing manually of generating content that would speak to the Andromeda, which is the AI algorithm inside of meta ads, as efficiently as possible to create ads that would resonate and help it target people in the most efficient way possible. And what I have to say is, given the data that we saw, it actually worked pretty well. We used a testimonial format where we had faces of our members with quotes from them about what they had been excited about using our program. And we used that testimonial format and tested it compared to some other ones, and that one seemed to work the best. So I'll get into all the details here, but I just kind of wanted to give you the overview. We also used Meta's Advantage tools, and we did some very specific limits on where the ads were placed. That's what you have to look forward to over the next 5 to 10 minutes. The first thing that we did is AI knowledge base. We call it Muse. Basically, it takes a bunch of information about your business and it uses that to get inspired to go out and kind of profile your customer base, use the testimonials that you have, use the information about your customers that you have, use the feedback that you've gotten from your customers, use the information that you have on your website, on your Skool, on your Instagram to understand your tone of voice and the way that you are speaking to your customers, but also to get information about where those customers might be in the metaverse so that when it goes out and creates content, that content isn't just sounding good or looking good, but it's actually sort of telling AI, Andromeda AI inside of Meta, how to go and generate content to go find those people. So that doesn't make total sense yet. That's okay. Let's just dive in. If you drop your Skool link in and your Skool link has been, sort of optimized to what you think your offering is for your community, this is a great place for Muse to start. It will actually look at your about page, all the pages it can on your Skool, depending on whether it's public or private. If you have links to your website or your Instagram, it will go out and look at those pieces as well. And it will gather some basic information about your business. And once it has that information, it can actually go out and look at Facebook, forums, comments on your posts in social media, Reddit posts, and start to gather sort of a voice of the customer, if you will, that it can use for generating content. And like I said, it's looking at lots of different things around the web, conversations, customer pain points, and sort of imagining what that voice would be. And then once it has that, it will actually create an interface where it can actually generate new ad content for you, and you can use this content for your meta ads. If you haven't used meta ads before, there's headlines, primary text, your Skool about page as well. So basically what Muse does is it takes your product offerings, your industry context, social listening, customer surveys, reviews, and it puts it all into sort of a hopper, and it comes out with a definition of your ideal customer, how they would talk about their problems, how they would talk about the transformation they want to see, and it actually even identifies the key inputs that Andromeda is looking for in your content to help it create better ads and better targeting when it goes out and does what it does to make ads. So that's the way Muse works. You grab the content and you put it inside of your ad as a starting point and then refine from there. So that really helped us from the start just to make ads move a lot faster and better. And how much better? Actually, The winning ad that we had was even less than $3, was $2.90. This is the entire copy here on the left that was generated by Muse. This is the ad that it suggested that we create. And of course, we tested a number of different types of testimonial ads, but this is the one that went out. Maybe you even saw this ad and this inspired you to come join our community. And if so, we're so glad you're here. But this was the ad that was generated by the Muse system. But of course, we tested a number of different ads. You're not going to be able to really get around that just by using AI, sorry. There are a number of AI tools out there that are pretty complicated, but if you can get your head around them, they actually do help you sort of do the manual process of optimizing ads. I like to actually go in there and look at that because I can try to understand what's changing or what's different or what's going on. And I like to imagine different things to try. And as you can see, we tried a lot of different things. We tried text only, we tried video ads, we tried a bunch of different testimonials, we tried animations and cartoons, we let AI generate images and things. But we learned a couple of things. One is, for at least for Skool, and this isn't always the case, the video ad, it costs us about $9.25 to get somebody to sign up versus the average image ad, which only costs about $3.40. So that might be one thing you might want to try for yourself and see if it's different for you. I'm not sure exactly why this is, and I'm not going to worry too much about it, but I usually think like when you run for a webinar or something like that, the videos actually perform better. I think that might be to some degree because you're looking for someone to speak to you and that's what's inspiring to you, and so that's sort of the product. Where with a Skool, it might be more about just being inspired by the copy and the content. I'm not actually really sure. That said, this was our result data, and we kind of abandoned videos early on and used images, and we got a great result. In addition, as I mentioned before, the testimonial thing is what worked best. Any version of testimonials could change the price per lead by a couple of cents to $1, but testimonials work the best. So these are 3 versions of basically the same content using different creative and different formats, but this seemed to work the best. So you might want to try that if you're promoting Skool. That's because there's a trust issue there. There's tons of communities. Why should I join it? Why is yours different? And hearing from somebody else who's like you, who had their problem solved, actually might be the best way to do that. In fact, Meta literally recommends using testimonials in their best practices for running ads. And so it's no surprise, this is one of the ways that ads work best, especially for the types of services that we provide. Success stories always do. And I think that goes without saying. I just wanted to show you some data that backed that up. As well, if you don't know how Meta works, in 2024 and before, it was really about targeting. You had to say women, entrepreneurs over 40 who follow Amy Porterfield and have read this Brene Brown book, or you would try whatever it was. You would try a bunch of different targeting mixes and you would see which one worked the best. And it had a little bit of an ability to sort of look at the fuzzy edges of those groups and try to bring more people in. But really, it was about you defining audiences with these sort of like categories and interests and all of that. Well, in 2025, when Andromeda came out, which is their new AI algorithm, it really kind of threw a lot of that away. Those interest groups and the targeting still exist. And you still can target that way if you want. And sometimes you want to, and I'll get to that in a second. But we actually tried to keep it as open as possible. And not only as open as possible in terms of the targeting, but also the creative itself. And like I mentioned before with Muse, the content it creates isn't necessarily the best written piece of content that you've ever seen, the most inspiring, thought-provoking content. It's actually meant to give Meta the ability to understand your audience and generate, tons of options, A/B tests, a bunch of different headlines, a bunch of different primary text options that it can try, and it can understand as well as it possibly can who your audience might be, and so it can have a sort of has a running start to test and get in front of the right people as soon as possible. So we used all the advantage tools. We used all of the different creative AI generation tools. We checked them all before they went out because sometimes they can be weird, but we tried everything and let it do as much as it possibly could within reason to create ads that might resonate. So it'll create ads that it thinks might resonate with every individual person based on what it knows about them, what they've clicked on, what they like, what they've seen. So letting it go free is a theme here, like letting Andromeda do what it does best and not trying to control it too much really helped us. And like I said, when we're talking about targeting, we did sort of target a very large group. Canada, United Kingdom, United States it's a huge number. It was more than broad enough to have targeting. What you don't want to do is just target one country or one state if you're just trying to run an online school. Now, I will say, of course, obviously, if you have a local business or something that's specific to a geography for some very specific reason, of course, you still want to do geo-targeting if it's not going to help you to have an audience from other places. But we did geo-targeting at this broad level just to make sure we were getting the kind of audience that we tend to attract. We have a lot of connections to other groups that are in Canada and the United Kingdom. But actually since then, we've actually expanded to all of Europe, decent amount of South America with some exceptions because there's some spam that can happen sometimes with meta ads, and that is covered completely in our meta ads mastery program, but there is a way to sort of avoid getting those spammy countries and avoiding that type of thing. But in terms of targeting, we had a very broad geo targeting. We had a very broad age, and the most important one, if you notice, is we didn't target women. Ultimately, we tried both, but that seems a little weird, right? Because we are a community just for women entrepreneurs. And again, we targeted all demographics, all interests, and all behaviors. But we actually ran two ads. We ran an ad that had no targeting, and we ran an ad that had targeting for women only. And if you can see from the numbers, we got about 99% women leads from both ads. But it costs us almost 3 times as much when we targeted only women. The meta algorithm does not like to be constrained at all. And I think there's a lot of reasons for this. Someone could be on somebody else's phone. The internet IP address could be tagged as a man or a woman. You could be traveling and be in someone else's computer. There's a number of reasons why your account might be sort of not, excluded from this mix. And more than that, I think it just doesn't like to be constrained because it wants to sort of go out and find people on its own. And if you look carefully at the Muse content that we created, it goes out of its way to define women entrepreneurs, women business owners. So I'm not surprised that even though the targeting was, open for anyone, it still went out and on its own only found people it thought this content would resonate with. So I thought that was one of the most interesting insights because intuitively you think you want to target down and get more specific, but sometimes you don't. And so we actually tried both, and this one won out. So if you have a women only school group, school community, or men only, you might want to try and do this same test and see how your meta ads perform, because I was actually really surprised about this. Now, the last thing that we did is we did control placements, and we did it pretty open. So like Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, and Threads is basically the entire internet. We did exclude WhatsApp and Audience Network ads because those are the types of ads that you see, in WhatsApp, or Audience Network, which is really third-party websites and games and things like that. And we've just found that those ads don't perform very well. And we ran tests with it and without these check boxes, and we haven't seen much of a difference, but I like to keep them unchecked. Again, I go into this in depth in the Meta Ads Mastery program about placements and how to test them and when you might want to use a third-party network or not. But in this case, this is how we kind of control placements. And like I said, there wasn't a huge difference, but I like to keep these unchecked just because I feel like you get a lot of spam from WhatsApp and Audience Network. So that's my 2 cents there. Then the last thing we did, we talked about at the beginning about how our conversion rate was 32%. So almost 1 in 3 people who came to our school landing page converted. And I think a big part of that was because the about page looked a lot like the landing page. In fact, the testimonial is one of the images here in the sort of carousel for your about page. The font looks the same. The message is the same. It reinforces the same value proposition and promise. And it made it really easy for people to believe that this was a very consistent, available promise for them. And I think that was a big part of why people signed up, because you could get a lot of clicks and a high click-through rate, but a low conversion rate. And that could suggest that your landing page, in this case, your school about page, wasn't up to par. And it took us a little bit to tweak this, but pretty quickly, the Muse content that it generated to match the ad did a good job of sort of aligning and giving parity between the ads and landing pages. So that was a big part of it too. So when you're running ads, you do have to also think about all of the downstream pages and experience, because if something in that chain is broken, you could have great ads and still not get any conversions. The other things that we did, obviously, we want to make sure that if we're tracking who is signing up, that's going to be pretty tricky with Skool, as you know, because you have to click on the sign up button, and then if you don't have an account, you have to register and log in and choose your tier, all those things. So it isn't actually just the sign up button necessarily always that is the only button you need to track. So custom conversion pixel was used throughout to give meta ads a really clear picture, not just of who was coming to the page, not just of who was clicking the sign up button, but who was actually completing the conversion cycle and becoming a member. And again, I know I've talked about this to death, but in the meta ads mastery class, we talk about custom conversion pixels as well. It's a huge part of success with ads and lowering the cost of your advertising, especially when you're using custom landing pages or things like this. Like I mentioned, we are running an ads mastery class in Q1 of 2026. If the things that I was talking about in this video make sense to you, but you're struggling to get ads started, this is the perfect place for you to start and to kind of learn how the meta ads platform works. We'll build an entire ad together. We can promote your school or your landing page or whatever it is and help you get started using ads so that you can get to more people than you can organically. Now, if the things I was saying make sense, but you've already know how to run ads, that's great. Take all of this and run with it. I'd love to know how it works for you. If you have different results, send your data, send your screenshots, and show me how things are working differently for you, because we're all learning from each other as these things change, as we kind of all try to promote our businesses. So I wanted to give you this information so that you could feel inspired, that you could use ads as well to grow your communities, your businesses, your landing pages, and your products in 2026. We are here for you. We are Dreamtech. We have Tech Mastery for Entrepreneurs is our Skool community, and it will be linked below. And if you ever need help with your, again, APIs, email, automations, starting from scratch, AI tools, we are here for you. So give me a ring, send me an email, DM us on Instagram. We'd be happy to help. I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.